This is just exactly what we had with the other one. The only difference is the specific things that we are dealing with here, but it's exactly the same with whatever we had. So priority, then okay, let me just, to make it easier to work with, I will remove that. So these are terms, and you want to select the priority as the terms. Then actually this is exactly the same thing. The only difference is that where we are placing it and the query that it's using. That's the difference. But the design and all the elements, it's exactly what we have in the previous one. So you will have to repeat the exact process, right? You need to repeat the exact process. The only difference is the query that it uses here. That's the only difference, but everything else remains the same. Yeah, so do you have any question? You have it? Okay, drop it in the comment section below and I will look into it. So allow me to move out of this part. Then let's go back to the query, and we are building all upcoming personal tasks. So that is this part, the third part here. So as I said, general, it's that. Then I also added the order and order by, and what I basically want to do is order by numeric meta value, and the meta key is the start date, and the order it's from the lowest to the highest. That's how I want the list to be arranged. Then the meta query here, it's the start date again. Then we have a slight difference here for the comparison. So what we want to do, it's okay, this is the thing here, all upcoming. So what does all upcoming means? Anything that it's happening from tomorrow. So anything that's happening from tomorrow, that is categorized as upcoming. So what we are doing here with our query, the comparison part, it's we are using anything that is greater or equal to. Anything that is greater or equal to. And what is that exactly? So let us go to our value part and go to macros. That is all macros. Then look for format date string. Okay, then the format is u again, that is Unix timestamp. Then date string is tomorrow. So anything that is greater or equal to tomorrow, we want all those in that list. As I said, anything that is upcoming, that means it starts from tomorrow onwards. But if you want yours to be slightly different, then you might want to change this part. But standard way, it's tomorrow and beyond. So date string is tomorrow, and show by, that is entirely up to you to decide how you want it to work. Then the date type, I think this is something that I've not been mentioning in the other ones, but the date type, it's timestamp, because that's what we are saving our dates as timestamps. Then the author, as usual, it's the current user ID. So that is done for that. And overdue, let us quickly go to overdue. I'm not going back to the design part or rather going to the listings, because I've explained those two, and everything else is done exactly the same way. Maybe I might want to just show you how I did this one, because it's different from the other ones. So I will just show you this very fast and we will proceed from there. So let us look at the query for overdue, the query for overdue tasks. So I will type overdue. So that is personal overdue tasks. So you can see I have a lot of overdue stuff here. So we are interested in this one. So the type or the query type is posts query, and our post is individual tasks. The status is published. And now there's a difference here that you should pay attention to. We are not using meta query anymore. Why? Because we are only interested in something which is overdue. So anything that is overdue, it doesn't mean, I mean the date that it was supposed to start, it's of no use. We only want anything that is overdue to be listed here. And that's why we are using tax query or taxonomy query for this part. So which taxonomy are we interested in? That is status, and this is for personal tasks. Then what do we want to use? I decided to use slug. So you can use slug, you can use name, or you can use term ID. So for me, I went with slug because I know the slug for this is unique and it's only identifiable to that specific taxonomy. So it's overdue. And this compare operator here, it should be in. That's what you need to set there, and that's done for that part. Then I added pagination here because of one thing which is very important. That is, I do not want a lot of overdue tasks listed here. So I just want 3. For you, you can decide how you want to handle it. If you leave it empty, they will all be listed here. If you want only 6 or whatever the number you want, you can have them defined here in the pagination. But there is also something else that we will do when we get to this point. That is, what happens when we have more than 3 overdue tasks. So you will need to add something at the bottom there, which is pagination, like what we have here, for the user to check the next, and the next ones. So we'll look into that once we get to it. So once that is done, then last part here is the author, which is current user ID, and that's done. So let us look at the last query for this part, and which is for all tasks, right? So let me just go back to query builder and look for all tasks. Then I think we'll be heading over to creating the table. Then we proceed. Let me see if, okay, I think let me just do that. Tasks, and they are here, all personal tasks, So we are interested now in the query for this listing here, the last one. So all personal tasks, post type, query type is posts query. Then select the specific post type, which is individual tasks. Then status is published, and for this one we do not need to define anything in all these other parts except the last one, which is the author, and that is the current user ID. So it's because we are listing all the tasks for a specific user, so we don't need to limit it with anything else here. We just need all of them. So that is all with that query. And now what we need to look at, as I promised, is how I build this last one, so that you can see. Then once that is done, we will quickly head over to this part down here, build the table. Then once we build the table, we will quickly build the two pop-ups, and we will head to the next part. Okay. Now, as usual, you will add new item. Then the source should be query builder. Then you should select your query from the list. That is the query from the list of the queries that you have. Give it a name, then hit create item. For us, we have it here, so it's query all personal tasks. Then let me just open with Elementor, and that will be the last thing that we do for this specific part. Okay, so let me show you how this looks like, and I think I will also share how it also looks like on the mobile, or let us just do it here. Right. So what we did here is I took the first so this let me just see what I have here. So this is a container, and we have so many other containers in it. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Now you can also use tables for this part. Okay, yeah, you can also use tables for this part. That is, if you do not want to have to beautify the priority and the status. If you just want them to be plain, as what we have down here for assigned tasks, that is priority and status. If you want them just like this, but okay, you can still do this. I will show you how to do it. If you want to have beautiful or different colors of status and priority inside the table, you can still have it. It's not that you can't. You can still have it, but I will show you how to do it. Although it is not it's not that much advisable, because it just adds to the DOM of your page, but it's doable. So what we did here, we have task, we have start date, we have I don't know what's there, start date, due date, priority, status, and action. So for the titles, what I did, I just used a normal heading and styled it. That is H4, did some styling, but there is just one thing that you need to do here. Go to dynamic visibility, because now, as you can see here, we just have the title appearing at the top like that, right? Yeah. So what we did is go there and do what? So select enable, then show element if condition is met, and we are going now this time around to listing, and we are going to the is end item. That's what you need to pick, and the number 1. That's all you need to do for that. So what happens when you do that, it's you prevent this being repeated many times within the listing. I hope that is understood. Once you do that for the first one, simply duplicate it across everything else and rename it appropriately. That's the fastest way to work with this, instead of doing the same thing all again while adding this other stuff at the top there. Then this is just the title, so dynamic field, then we select it's the title, and that's done. Then start date, it's also a dynamic field. it's also a dynamic field, but now this time around the source, it's metadata. That's the source. Then the meta field, you need to select the exact field for this specific post type that has the start date. Okay, so it's individual tasks and it's the start date. Then there is something else you need to do here. Remember, we saved it as a timestamp, right? So scroll down, enable field output, filter field output, enable that. Then select a callback, which is format date. Callback is format date, and the format should be FJY. So once you do that, these will be correctly formatted. But you can decide your own format if you want. Just go to the WordPress date documentation here and use whatever you want to use here. Now let me show you the difference by simply switching this off. And let us see what happens. Do you see what we have there? This is a Unix timestamp that it's not human readable. So you need to do that. The same thing applies for the due date. The priorities are exactly the same way we did with the other card. So drop in a dynamic term widget, then select that specific taxonomy from the list. Make sure show all terms is off. Link terms is also off. If you want to use an icon, you can use one as I did here. Then you will have to go to advanced settings. This is just repetitive of what we have already done. Go to dynamic visibility, enable it, then show element if condition is met, which is post has terms, and which terms? It's that one. For the first one, it's high. Don't worry about all of this having low. It's having low because whatever it's being used right now here has that specific priority. The post that is being used as the example or for the display preview purposes has that. So everything will be low, but at the back of your mind, you know what each represents. So that is high, and the taxonomy that we are interested in is priority for personal tasks. So do the same for all these other two, just the same thing. This is low, this is medium. Then you'll be done with that. Then the status, it's also exactly the same thing. So drop in a dynamic term, then select the exact taxonomy that you want to use. It's only one. These two should be off. If you want to use an icon, go ahead and do that. Proceed to the advanced tab, and you want to set dynamic visibility, which is element if show element if condition is met, post has terms, and for the first one it's completed. And which exact taxonomy are we interested in? It's status, and this status is for personal tasks. Okay, do the same for all these others that are left down below. You can style them as you want, and that should be done. The next part here, these are dynamic link. All of them are dynamic links. The only difference is that the first one, it's a permalink, and what that permalink does, it's just, it now takes the user to the details of this single post. The other one is also a dynamic link, but the source, it's delete current link, or delete current post link, and redirect, just like we did in the previous one. We are redirecting them to the same page, and the macro to use is current page URL. Then delete post, decide whether you want to delete it permanently or you want to move it to trash, and define your icon. If you want to use an icon, use an icon. If you want to use a text, whatever you want to do, and that's done. Don't forget to use the proper wordings that you want here. Irreversible. Good. Yeah, irreversible, that's the correct spelling. So you need to use whatever you want to use there, and that will be done. But now there is another catch here. So how does this thing look like when it's on tablets and mobile phones? So it's a disaster to have it that way on tablets and mobile phones. So what I did, I duplicated it and changed the design of what I want it to look like on the tablet and on mobile phones. So on tablets and mobile phones, I changed it from that table look like to just cards. And now what we have here are just cards for each of these stuff. In your case, you might decide, instead of having these like this on, let me just put a screenshot of how it looks like on mobile phone for you there to see. So if you want to decide that you do not want it to look like the way it is for me, just use a table and everything should be okay for you. So up to that point, if you have a question, ask in the comment section below. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so just right now. And how about you like the video? Is it interesting? I hope so. Then don't forget to share it with your friends as well, so that they also know that they can learn 1 or 2 things from this video as you just did. So let's proceed. And now what we want to do is build the table. Build the table. And before we build the table, we need to create another query for that table. So let me see, that should be assigned tasks. Yeah, and you can see what we are going to use here. It's something a little bit different. Then we will proceed to build that dynamic table. Okay, so quickly let's go to our query builder and look for that query. Assigned tasks. So the type of the query, or the query type, is SQL or AI query, or if you pronounce it SQL, I don't know. I always say SQL. So it's SQL, and give it a name as well, a unique name. Then now this part is very important. So let me give you a few seconds to breathe, just a few seconds. Okay, now this is now very interesting and very important part for you to pay close attention to, and it's just because there are a number of things that get into this thing. And before we even look at this query, let me just go to the tables. Let me go to the tables so that you see why we need to use SQL query and not anything else. Because if you use posts query, there is a lot of things that will not work. So let me see, assigned tasks, it's here. So there is a lot of things here that will not work, and this is something that after experimenting a lot of times, I came to realize there are a lot of things here that will give you hard times to handle. And that's why, as I said, if you want to have some pretty looking tasks, priority and status, then the table will not work, especially if you decide to use the SQL, and unfortunately it's the only way out with this one. So Yeah, now let us go back to the table. So this is our table here, and these are the columns. So there is a lot of things here that really needs us to just use the SQL and not anything else, because of things like assignee and some other things that you will see along the way. Anyway, so the query is here, and this query also has a lot of stuff that building it any other way is difficult as well. So I think I spent a lot of time here to make it work, and I tried. As you can see here, I tried to make it work, but it got complicated and it just did not work. So I had to switch. So you can see I tried to put things together here. This is the task meta, the term relationships, the term taxonomy, the terms themselves. Then I tried to use the where clauses, and it was not adding up. Nothing was coming together. So I decided to turn to the advanced mode, which worked. Now you can use AI to generate this, provided you give it correct prompts. And I always avoid using AI provided by CrocoBlock, because it's sometimes limiting and it doesn't do clean job. So I always use either ChatGPT directly, or of late I've been using DeepSeek. So DeepSeek can be really handy, and it can give you these things. So I don't know whether I should. Okay, let me just try to explain this thing. But what I will do, I will make these available for you. I'll make this SQL query available for you, and on your side, what you will try to do is understand what it's doing. Then once you understand what it's doing, you can mess up with it to make it work for your case. So what we are dealing with here is we are looking for the things here. So these are the things that we need. So we have the post ID, we have the post date, we have the post title, we have the post status, modified date, then we have the GUID, then we have the post type, then we have some specific meta fields that we are interested in, and all these things are just things that come directly from our post type, this post type here. So we are trying to use all the meta fields that we need here. That is the dates, the assignee here, and the terms, the taxonomies, that is the priority and the status. So all these are the things that we are doing here. That's why we are joining tables. As you can see, we are using inner joins here to join all these tables. So we have, how many things do we have here? Let me explain. We have post type, that is 1. 2, we have taxonomies. 3, we have users. And 4, we have meta fields for those posts. And yeah, it's just for post. We don't need any user meta fields. So those are 4 important things that make up all this thing. So we have those meta fields here, which is due date, we have description, we have start date, we have due time, and we have custom user ID. Then we have some other things that I added here, like status update, overdue reminder, which for your case you might not need. Then the taxonomies, as I said, we have 2. That is the task status and the task's priority. So those are basically the things that we are dealing with here. And our post type, it's this here, which is what we have. And this query is what gives us the results that we have on this other side. And whatever we have on this other side, it's what we need for us to create this table down here. So if you need to add a column and you realize that from the column here you do not have the column from the source, then you must go back to your query and check and add it into the query, whatever you want to add. For instance, let us just go to something like, let me go to this table. Let me go back to the table here, and let us say we are missing priority, right? So let us say we are missing priority when we are trying to handle the priority here. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to go back to our query and check. If we will be missing priority, then that means we will not be having these parts from our query, right? Yeah. So you need to find a way to add that missing part. And if you will be also missing, maybe say you want to use description somewhere and you don't have it, then you'll have to add it as the meta that you need it to be part of the pulled results. So once that query is done, now we can build the table. Yeah, I know I have not maybe explained the query as much as you would wish, but as I've said, I will make it available to you, and you can use artificial intelligence to help you build one for yourself. Now let me show you how to build the table. So the first thing that you need to do is here in general settings, give your table a name. Then the data query, select your query builder that you need to use for that specific table. So for me, it's assigned tasks. Then you can refetch data if you want to, if maybe you are running into issues when trying to preview the table down here. So the first column, it's task, which is the task here, and it's the task title. So the column content, it's raw value. Then the data source, it's fetched column. So now there is a difference here when using fetched column, when using post terms user object field, and when using meta fields. Now if your query is an SQL query like whatever we have here, then majority or all of the data sources for you will always be fetched column, because that is what will work. So if it's not an SQL query, then your data source can be any of these two. You can use the post term user object field or meta field. So most cases when you are using object field, this is when you are dealing with a CCT. So if you are dealing with a CCT, then using an object field will help you get that specific CCT field. So let me allow that sync for a second. If your query is SQL, then your data source will always be fetched column. Okay, so select fetched column, then select that specific column from the list. As I said earlier, if you are not getting what you need from the list here, then that means you need to rework your query to include it. And you can simply see that from what you have on the side here. All those things are always listed here. So if something is missing on this other side, then that means you will not also get it here. Okay, so it's the post title, and that's done. And if you are just not sure, always hit preview, then see whether that's what you want to have on this other side. Then next, it's assignee, or the person that has been assigned the task, and it's the column, it's raw value, column content is raw value, then the data, it's fetched column, and the column that we are interested in is the assignee display name. Assignee display name, which comes from our query. That is done. Then the next one, it's the start date. So it's raw, that is the column content. The data source, it's fetched column. The select column, we look for our specific meta field, which is start date, but there is something we need to do. Why? Because you remember the details that are being saved in the database are saved as Unix timestamp. That's what we did. So we need to do that, because let me just do this. Let me disable this for a second, then let me reload the preview and you will see what happens here. Did I reload the preview? I didn't. Okay, so you can see that the start date here, it's okay, down here. Yeah, awesome. I think yeah, down here. So you can see that down here, these things are okay. These ones here, these are timestamps. That is because that's how they were saved in the database. So you need to filter the column output, then you need to format date, and you format it based on the format that you want to do. So the same thing applies for the due date. Do the same thing, format the filter the column output, and the filter callback is format date as well, so that you can have uniform dates that you want to use. Then task priority, it's the column content is raw, data source is fetched column, and the column to select, it's priority name. So remember, we have slug, we have name, and we also have, I think I just fetched those two. I fetched the slug and the name, so I want the name, not the slug. Same with the status, it's status name and not status slug. Then the action, this is where it's now interesting. So for the action here, you want that the user can hit the link and they will go to the single task details. So this is where you want to use the GUID from the query, and the GUID is here, which is the URL that has been stored in that. But if you just use it as is, this is what will happen. Let me turn this off and let me reload the preview. So do you see what we have here? These are the things that we have, and this is just ugly, right? Yeah, that is just bad. So what you need to do is you need to filter the column output. You need to filter the column output like that. Then you need not filter column output, you need to customize the column output. Sorry for that. You need to customize the column output, not filter. So customize the column output, then you just need to use the normal way you will do with a URL. Okay, I believe you understand this. So it is href, but what you do here, this is the link %s. So that is the link, and use single quote. Don't use double. Double does not work. I believe the last time I tried it did not. So use the single, because this is your link. This is what has your link. Then decide the wordings that you want to use here and close the link. And that's it. That's it for the table. And once that is done, you will have your table as we have here. But that is not done because we need to style this table. And I'm pretty sure you're also wondering, how do I have things like search the table like that? So, and you're also wondering, how do I have the pagination that I have here like that, and all these copy and all these other export buttons that we have here, and you know, all this stuff. I will show you when we get to it. But up to that point, we are done with building our table, and it's here just as we have it. So the next thing that we need to do, don't forget to create table or update your table once you are done. I think there is one part here that I almost forgot, which is table styling. I always do it from this part because it really helps when it comes to how the table will appear at this point here, as you can see. So what you do is, in most cases, it's always trial error stuff or experimenting. So you enter a figure, then you just check how it works, adjust it as you wish. So the width, I'm using 200. Then I'm aligning my horizontal, I'm aligning my heading to the left. These headings here, I'm aligning them to the left, and that's it. So for these other ones, as I said, the width is something to experiment with. Just try what works and stick with it. You can also align your cells if you want, but in most cases I always mess with the heading, and that is the horizontal alignment only. I align them to the left side. So you can do that for the styling and save your thing. So the next thing that now we want to do is look at how to build the front end as how we have it here.